you know, I know this project is specifically about four ingredients, but they also represent the bigger basket of, Indian ingredients. We use
Right.
multiple terms for them, heritage or heirloom or indigenous, etc. But, when did you as a chef start exploring this aspect of Indian ingredients, and what was your experience of working with them?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much. I think it's a privilege and an opportunity for me to speak to all of you through the medium. Om, thank you for the opportunity. My career dates back more than 3 decades. I started off in uh, with the Mahindra Group, part of the Mahindra Holidays development team. So I could work in a lot of these offbeat areas. Like I worked at Munnar, Chinnakannal, a small village of
Mhm.
Munnar. Worked with kappa. Well, I had no idea that biryani could be made with kappa without rice. From there, I moved to Shimla at Naldera, at Lakkad Bazaar. And this is, I'm talking about 96, 97. I am 2021. Currently, I'm 53. So you can see the journey that it has been. And it had fascinated me all through 3 decades. Not that I've lost any interest or fascination. So Lakkad Bazaar, Shimla used to have lingdi or lingda, fiddle-head phone,
Mhm.
and we used to make sabji out of it in the cafe. And I would like, yeah, why not use it in the kitchen as well, in the restaurant? And then I am doing this beautiful molecular gastronomy workshop with Chef Charlie Trotter, the legendary late Charlie Trotter in Singapore in 2000. And I see him using fiddle headphones, there's little things on a plate.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
damn, I used to get this. And Ligada was 20 rupees for a sack of 20 kilos. And it increased to 50 rupees for a sack of 20 kilos. It was used for sabzi, achar, things like that. Now, foraging came into this whole thing, and it became very big with molecular gastronomy progressing. In India, we only spoke about the foam part of it or the gas part of it, but
Mhm.
everybody forgot provenance. But molecular gastronomy started off with provenance. It started off with doing your own, farm, working with your own biodiversity. It actually piggybacked on slow food, which is speaking about 30-kilometer radius, 50-kilometer radius, 100-kilometer radius, growing your own, respecting your own biodiversity, creating a menu with your biodiversity, going foraging, doing a gatherer's menu, not a hunter's menu, and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so I am now back in India working with Olive. We started this Japanese restaurant. This is 2005 and 6. We're doing I and Guppy, and we're bringing in a lot of produce from Japan because it was told that if you want to do an authentic Japanese restaurant, you have to have authentic ingredients. A- As luck would happen, the Fukushima blast happened, and it kind of infiltrated into various food sources of Japan. There was a trade embargo. India government promptly stopped all possible imports from Japan, and we were stranded. We're like, damn, we've just opened a
Mhm.
beautiful Japanese restaurant. We don't even have bamboo leaf. So it automatically gave me, necessity. The crisis brings in some necessity. So the necessity is like, oh, I come from Northeast. I mean, I've grown up in West Bengal. I'll give you my background a little bit of how I am connected. And I'm just
Mhm.
talking about me as a professional chef right now. But I'm like, oh, I've seen this growing up in West Bengal or in Assam during my travels. There was bamboo leaf. Because in my village in Midnapur, there's huge bamboo jungles. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, I've been bringing in bamboo leaf from Japan. But it's broader. It's like about that thick. And the bamboo leaf we get in India is like really narrow and slim. We call it Kuma Sasa. I remember back in days in 2004, one bamboo leaf costed 20 rupees. Of course, you couldn't bring in just one. So you had to bring in container load of various things from Japan. So I promptly looked at Northeast because geographically, latitude, longitude, there's a lot of similarity between Northeast, parts of China, and parts of Japan. Northeast, when I'm saying Meghalaya,
Mhm.
because of course the three sisters, the Khasiya, Jauntia, Garo Hills. I've had friends, I've had people in the kitchen working with me from Northeast. So I'm like, this is a time to explore Northeast. So I looked around, found this beautiful farm, which was partly owned by one of our chef's family. This is in Nongpo. It's as you're
Mhm.
driving from the airport in Assam up to Meghalaya, it's come somewhere in the bend. Of course, now it's like a bustling town or a city. That time it's a small village. I'm now 2005, 6. So I set up a small farming thing at Nongpo, where we started harnessing betel leaves, kumasasa and bamboo leaves, borak bus, the broader bamboo. I used to do a lot of steamed rice and all. Steam pots were steamed in bamboo. So that was the bamboo that we brought in. The hill coriander, passion fruit, uh, uh, Yamamomo. Yamamomo is like a kind of a berry. It's called a Japanese mythical
Mm.
berry, but grows abundantly in the hills of Northeast. Now, as I got deeper into it, I started finding almost every produce that I was bringing from Japan, starting with the wild mushrooms, some of the enoki style wild mushrooms, this berry, Yamamomo, which is generally always have to be served with sushi and sashimi. It's a khatta berry. It kind of takes away the fishy smell and aroma. And these are specific produce. Nowhere in the world it is available. And I started finding them in the wild in Northeast. So my relationship grew deeper and deeper, and I invested a lot of time, and I created a what do you call like a path from where I started working with small farmers, villagers, tribal women, selling them in small baskets who went foraging, picked up these berries, sold them in the Bada Bazaar or
Yeah.
in the morning markets of these village markets. So I put few people who would go around picking them up, consolidating them in a little
Mm.
container, and send them to me through air. So obviously it was a bit of a cost. And then we started bringing in things like wood apple, you name it, almost every produce of
Mm.
Northeast.
Mm.
And then eventually I opened up a restaurant which was 100% dedicated to Northeast produce, doing like a miner's cuisine of the Northeast, as we call the rat hole mines of Northeast. And
Mm.
this is where my story comes in with my dad's an anthropologist, spent his time in the mining community in Chotanagpur Plateau, Asansol, Durgapur, Dhanbad, Mukba, Rajasthan. And I've grown up in that field for about 17, 18 years. So traveling through a lot of these small tribal communities or indigenous communities of Purulia, Bankura, Bishnupur, and that area with my dad, we always got used to this. This was not a shocker to me because my dad named my sister Mahua. Of course, this we come to the story of Mahua at some point.
Yeah.
My Didi's name is Mahua. So, in the house, there was a story of why snakes and bears gets attracted to the Mahua tree. And it's not something that I've read on internet. I've grown up hearing it as I started hearing, my first memory of,
Mm.
my
Mm.
stories at home was these kind of stories. And there's fox in the jungle, and I used to make a fox noise. My family tells me that I used to call foxes because I had grown up hearing the noise of the fox making the noise in the
Mm.
evening.
Mm.
So that was my upbringing, because our family came from Sundarbans, with farming community, out and out farming community. My dad's 7, 8 generations that I can trace back farmed in the Sundarban belt, large farming land. Then my dad, got out of the village, studied anthropology, again brought him back into this area, which is very rich in terms of human history, culture, a lot of tribal communities. And because him being an anthropologist, his main connect was all these tribal communities. Them, we would go and spend an afternoon with them. So growing up in this whole indigenous belt, eating with the indigenous community is very much a part of my journey. I never thought I'll become a chef, and I never thought any of this will come in handy when I become a chef. Now, I did two restaurants, and one of them happens to be Lavash, which was dedicated to Asansol and my dad's book on the mining community of Asansol, Raniganj, Dhanbad. It's basically spoke about the tribal community and how Asansol became the Ruhr. So I have no connect with the mines, nor do I like that much of mining, but I want to take the culture and the history of that particular area. And I started this restaurant, Lavash. Now, as Lavash started, the few things that came to my mind that brought me the memory was we used to have this drink called hadia. My dad
Yeah.
never allowed me
Yeah.
to drink it, but it's like a rice beer kind of a sarawa thing in a big pot. It's very smelly. So I recreated a cocktail that was served in a handi, which is
Mm.
had that a similar sour taste and aroma of the hadia.
Mm.
The next cocktail was made with mahua. Now, automatically, because my sister was running Lavash and there's Mahua already there, and then there's Mahua coming from Bihar and West Bengal. But that time it was not legal to bring in Mahua. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
legal now
Yeah.
because we go to
Not
that
yet.
part later. So we would bring it in. Somebody will again put it in a parcel, bag in a train from Bihar, mostly from Patna or Darbhanga and that area, and we started using it in our cuisine. So this entire ingredient journey, starting from 2006 at Nongpo till I
Mm.
did Minority, which both closed down, Minority and Lavash, which closed down in 2020. I've had this entire journey of using be the lacadong turmeric, be the passion fruit from the hills, be the Yamamomo, these goji, what called the goji berries,
The goji
mythical
berries, yeah.
berries, they call it, since they
Yeah,
have some
yeah.
mythical powers. So goji to the Mahua berries to your and then as I went into it, it's not just the food produce. I started working with kumars as in the potters. So I started
Mm,
developing a lot of pottery. As recent as Taj Puri, I've developed a menu where I've introduced some of the potteries from these areas of Bengal, terracotta pottery, some
mm,
Bishnupur, Bakuda, and all of them. So malsha, tawa, and chach, which we generally use for steaming pitas and stuff like that. So I brought in pottery. Then I brought in bamboo, which bamboo cane bamboo structures for baskets, weave woven baskets, lampshades, roti baskets, and all of that. So it became like an ecosystem for me, working with the indigenous producers and the community, that I could tell a story which I genuinely felt was extremely modern. You probably have seen Lavash. I'm not sure if you have seen
been there
a
multiple
Minority.
times. Yeah.
Both were in India's top 5 restaurants list. Both were in the NDTV list, the Nat Geo list. Lavash is the only restaurant ever been filmed by Nat Geo as a cultural reference
Mm,
point of India. So they were extremely modern. They've won every possible award in the book, from Treasure Travel Living to Travel Leisure, and all of those modern awards which is given to restaurants today. But why am I giving you this entire long story? Is because this entire journey was actually backended by stories, philosophy, and produce from this hinterland, or as we call the indigenous produce
mm,
of
mm.
India, from the eastern and northeastern part of the country.
I have 2 points. I think one, why we don't have another chef Sabi today is because, I mean, I don't think they don't have your history. Uh, the region that you grew up in, your father's anthropology book, the exposure that you had, which is great. I mean, personally, I think, uh, all that made you what you were. But if you look at from an Indian culinary perspective, I mean, that's sad, right? I mean, how do we, first is how do you see the trend today? Because, do we have a system in place where we can create more chef sabbies? And I've been to Nar. I mean, there is a Nar today. A few days back, somebody told me there is a bar in Delhi which now uses GI ingredients. So there are these one-off experiments happening, but do you see this as a trend picking up in next couple of years?
We are thought-provoking people. We are trendsetters and leaders of the opinion makers or leaders of this community. You, me, and people alike in this forum. I think it's is that we have to start feeling proud about our produce. We don't feel that proud. We always talk about I work with a lot with the Batabi Lebu, Gandharaj,
Hmm.
and the grapefruit that comes from the hills, and also the Naga, that really small Mandarin, Naga Mandarin.
Hmm.
But we don't talk about it in the pride. We generally talk about the uh, Japanese lemon or the
Yeah.
Amalfi lime,
Yeah.
things like that. So somewhere we still don't take that pride in our own indigenous produce, because it's a perception value. There's a lot to do with perception, because whatever media is telling me, I think it is good food, because brain in the stomach and state brain in the head is different. So if the media is telling me that the Amalfi lime is more exotic, or the Japanese lime is more exotic, or the makrut lime, or that lime leaf from Thailand is more exotic, and the ones that we're getting are not, automatically the entire
Hmm.
ecosystem of young chefs or young entrepreneurs would want to go there. Now, the lime leaf I used to use from Northeast has beautiful aroma. You don't need a Thai lime leaf. The
Yeah.
spring, the chives, the chives, the lime leaf, the lemongrass, all of it is equally flavorful, if not better. Now we are using a lot of Gondra. I am part of the O Calcutta community, the restaurant, specialty good restaurants. We use, for I know the O Calcutta, which is named Chaurangi in London, in probably hopefully in line to get the first Michelin, God willing, is taking Kagji Lebu and Gondraj Lebu from West Bengal and buying fish from Bangladesh, because that's what easily available in London, and is in line to get a Michelin, any day now. Now, why is it not happening in India? Because if I put ilish much in my menu, people will cringe. They're like, "Oh, how do you eat it? Is it really something should be served? Should it have been a salmon, or should it, as much as I enjoy a good salmon, I also enjoy a good ilish, and also enjoy a good vetki or a bass from that area of this country, or a swimmer crab from that Odisha coast. Now, one, maybe there's a supply chain issue, which is where you and the people in this call comes into the picture. It is a bit of a cost that enables, because eventually, see, I have a passion, you have a passion, people in this call, we all are passionate, right? Hence we're here. And money comes secondary. Yes, money is important, but as a byproduct of that business, not the first thing. Whereas a lot of the other people in the community will look at it as something that is easily available, cheaper in price or competitively priced, and I have good access to it whenever I want. So maybe smaller quantity available in the local supermarket. I can call it from Blinkit or Swiggy, or one of these Instamart places. I don't have to wait for the train to come from Patna or the plane to fly from Assam and things like that. So I think those factors are also very important that one should consider, because eventually it's a very what should I say? It's a very cutthroat industry. So there's a lot of economies of scale that people need to look at, barring just passion or knowledge or upbringing, or our enthusiasm about this indigenous produce. Let's say there is a young chef. I won't name many, or can't name anyone right now, because it's not fair. But I know quite a few of them who are very keen to work with them, and a lot of them would shy away saying, "Yeah, chef, it's very nice you told me. I tried it, but in my restaurant I've not been able to make it work." So I go back to my using polished rice, because I is or Gup is the first place where the black rice was introduced into sushi. Today, not 99, 100% sushi and Japanese restaurants have black rice sushi in the menu. Now, credit of course have to go to Mr. A.D. Singh. That time in the kitchen, it was Chef Vikram, who was the sushi chef, and me, of course. But a lot of that, I would say, it will go to Mr. A.D. Singh and the management for allowing us to experiment with such things, right? Because sushi is it's so strong with its principles that you can't break anything. But let's say somebody as visionary as Mr. Singh said, "Chalo, Vikram and Saby is trying," means there has to be some logic to it. Let's go with it. Today, mainstream sushi has black rice, and internationally it has been accepted. But the start has happened as recent as 2005 and 6 at Gappi by right? By our own chefs. And that happened because of the same thing. As again in Northeast, we are working. We found this beautiful black rice. I'm like, oh, this is so aromatic. We've always used black rice, but never thought it can be introduced in sushi. Brought it along, mixed it slowly initially, little at a time. There had to be a lot of recipes. It was sweet, so we had to bring in bacon to add just a salt and sweet texture. And then it has this inherent flavor and sweetness. I said, damn, let's make a kheer. But we can't really serve a kheer. So we made a creme brulee of rice. One of the signatures, and still in the menu, is the black rice creme brulee. Now, when you make a creme brulee, it's very exotic. Everybody wants to eat it. So maybe this nomenclature also have to be made simplified for the current generation of not just the chefs, also the diners. Because elephant apple, nobody will probably buy elephant apple. Or, stone fruit, if I say stone fruit, or a honey tree or a butter tree, these kind of nomenclature may not really necessarily go down easy. I'll give an example. I was working with the Chilean embassy many years back. I worked with a lot of these embassies, and they were struggling to sell their indigenous fish called Patagonian toothfish.
The toothfish, yes. Yeah.
So Patagonian toothfish is an extremely oily, very tasty, and a very exotic fish. But nobody wanted to buy anything called toothfish. So some genius guy came around and said, let's name it Chilean sea bass. And you know what is happening today, right? It's the most expensive fish. It has surpassed black cod and salmon. It is in every exotic menu in this world. And Patagonian toothfish is renamed as Chilean sea bass, and it is selling everywhere. So maybe nomenclature. Also, like I said, a little bit of money has to be spent in promoting, bringing it to the right audience, get them to try, get them to experience. They will obviously love it, and then make it accessible. Once you have them on the hook, we've also noticed that with a lot of other things that we've created the hook, people have got hooked on, but now that's also has been a problem with various produce. I'm not just going to say about Mahua or Lacadong turmeric or any of the indigenous produce. It has happened with a lot of international produce. As recent as last year, I know Australian embassy is started Australian salmon, wild salmon, which is largely Tasmanian ocean trout.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful produce, but if you say ocean trout, people will think, first of all, trout is not a very popular name in our country. But when you say ocean trout, all the more it's complex because we see trout in the Himalayas. So now if you say salmon or wild salmon or the ocean salmon or Australian salmon or Tasmanian salmon suddenly breaks all barriers. Well, oh, great, yeah, it's pink, it's lovely. Let's see. So like that, if nomenclature wise, if we can simplify things, maybe it will also be more easy for current generation chefs and enthusiasts who wants to try it.
Okay. When you specifically said, there is passion which is needed, but there is also business and supply chain issues which should be sorted out. Over the last 2 months, we also spoke with a lot of chefs, but we also spoke with a lot of agri and food startups, which are now in smaller, lesser known niche commodities. And we saw, issues on both sides. Chefs who said, supply chain is absolutely untrustworthy. Somebody would supply for one season and not be there for another season. And at the same time, we also heard from the startups that the demands from the chefs are not fair. They want exactly the same size, same flavor, which is not achievable in smaller commodities, etc. So there is a trust gap which has developed over the years, and even companies which have worked with chefs for a decade will still not venture into a new ingredient. So they're like, if something is working, let me just stick to that. So I don't know. I mean, how do we break this? Because on both sides, they want to work with each other, but both are a little worried of, kind of going down this path after so many failures. So, how do we break the ice now?
I think here we'll have to take a step back. If you ask me, I'm going to
Yeah.
speak on behalf of the chefs here, because eventually the chefs are the engine driver, right? If the driver doesn't drive the engine, the entire train stops. And I've learned this again from a Sherry Singh. He would always say this: look, the driver or the captain of the ship or the engine driver is extremely important. You need the entire machinery for that train to run, but the key is in the hand of that one guy who here happens to be the chef. Now, given due importance, not too much also, not like we have to make the chef sit on our head, but given due importance, the chef also has his own limitations. His hands are tied. He has a cost thing to work with. He has guests who will say, yesterday you gave me Naga tangerine, today you're giving me Thai Mandarin. How is this working? It's not making sense. You in the Acha. Now the guy says, yeah, I can't print the menu every day. It's a cost to us. A lot of the corporate companies I'm working with, even if they have the money and the budget and the time, they have 18, 20 restaurants. If it has to change, the menu has to change in 20 restaurants. So it's almost literally impossible to change 18 menus together in 20 locations in a print format. Electronic format, very easy. But a lot of the good restaurants want to have a printed menu, that is served. So it becomes a 1 month, effort to change one little word in a menu. Now, having said that, how do we break that barrier? It's a very interesting question that you asked. It has to be broken. It has to happen. There's no two way about it. I think let's start taking small steps. Imagine you are like the signal man right at the end of the train, and that is who you are when you're the small startup farm in Assam, West Bengal, Odisha, Bihar, wherever you are. Make the small steps, keep coming, one bogie at a time, reach the engine, have a conversation heart to heart with the engine driver. In this case, it's a chef. Explain to him that these are the seasons. A lot of us, including me, I would keep a calendar of produce in my chef's office. So I knew which season what is coming in. So I could accordingly plan the menu a month or 2 months in advance. Nobody has a problem if you get 2 months advance notice or 1 month's advance notice or 3 months advance notice. So the calendar for fish and seafood, fisheries calendar, same for agri, same for fruits and vegetables. I had created these calendars and put it out. So every chef had an access to such information. Maybe create a calendar like that, put these are the ingredients that are available in these months in fresh. So it is available and hanging in every chef office in the country. Nobody will mind if you send them a calendar. If I rakh lena table pe, right? So I get so many food companies that keeps me calendar. A lot of them, I look at the date, but I also see the messages in them. All of them have something about food and they're trying to send some message. So that could be one. The other day you did this beautiful festival with Chef Dhruv at Olive, where we spoke a lot. Maybe not at that a grander scale, but similar such efforts could be done at restaurants of repute across the country, or hotels, not just restaurants of standalone. It could also be hotels. And in this case, I think these startups would have to bear the cost, because nobody want to risk putting something in their menu, straight away charge guests a lot of money, and getting a feedback unnecessarily. I'm not saying it'll be a bad feedback, but it could be a feedback, oh, it's very new, or it's very
Mm.
alien, and things like that, right? So that would have to be also done with ease. So that is my second thing. You go meet the chef. Second, start inducting smaller, like the events
Mm.
that you did, where there's some bit of buzz, some bit of talk. Some people come in, do a little tasting. Supermarkets are a great area for doing tasting. I recently launched acai berry. Brazilian embassy, of course, is a lot of money, big budgets. But what did I do? I, as a chef, it's been ages that I have gone and cooked in supermarket, but I'm back again at the supermarket, cooking and making small tastings, because I could feed 500 people at food hall in one go.
Yeah.
Acai berry, everybody got excited. Acai
Mm.
berry, and since then I've seen so many restaurants in the last 4 months. I've seen restaurants putting acai berry in their menu, acai berry, bowls happening. So much talk has been happening with acai berry. The Brazilian line, very similar. The Amazonian produce is very similar, indigenous, like the produce of Northeast. But let's say you go do supermarket promotions. Obviously, there's a cost involved, there is the logistic involved, but you attract a certain large community of people, and then maybe you talk to the supermarket to create an indigenous shelf, like Food
Mm.
Hall,
Mm.
Nature's,
Mm.
Lavash. So many supermarkets, modern, like they have no so many shelves now. Proudly Indian. Let's make an indigenous shelf of Proudly Indian, where you have a few packets of Mahua, lacadong turmeric, black rice, your dehydrated mushrooms from Northeast,
Yeah.
varieties of rice that we spoke about, Joha, Kala Namak, Radhuni, Pagol, all of that varieties of rice. There's so much that is coming in from the produce. So create a Proudly Indian section and say indigenous produce, which most countries have today. Somehow we don't have one. Like you go to Japan, you go to, I was in which country last few, Greece, last, and there's international produce in all supermarkets, and then this says Greek only, so you have exactly what you might want to need for local ingredients. So like that, let's create a shelf like that. If all of you put your hands together, you have semi-government backings, people in the business. Maybe that's a way to also break into it. Are the top four or top five of my guesses off the head? I'm sure if we put our heads together, there'll be more ways of looking at it. But these are, I know, works.
Sure.
So
Yeah. So, great examples. I also, I spent like 1.5 decades in agri and technology sectors, right? So, and we have matchmaking forums, matchmaking groups, for profit, not for profit, part of industry bodies, etc. In fact, Dhruv was saying the other day that why isn't there a WhatsApp group where I can say I need, 70 kilos of this, and I said, in agri, we have those groups. So somebody wants to sell something or buy something or needs a networking, wants to talk to the founder of a company. So all of us put a query in a WhatsApp group and somebody will answer. Somehow, when we talk about agri and Horeca, I am not too sure. I mean, you tell me, because I think you are the insider. I don't think we have that kind of a forum where matchmaking happens, because a startup will go to five chefs and eventually come back angry saying, the cost just doesn't work out for me. So do you think we need a platform like that?
there is this purchase managers forum. I'm sure you're aware of it. A
Yeah.
purchase managers forum. Chef Gill is part of an advisory board. They had given me an honorary membership. I don't know if it's still valid or not. It was launched 5, 6 years back. Now the
Hmm.
purchase managers forum is one of the strongest forum. Mr. Nitin Nagrale is the one who heads this forum. So there's a purchase managers forum. Now these are the guys who actually, if you ask me, being a very proud chef and representative of the chef community, the actual power and the money and the decision making capabilities are all with this purchase managers forum
Hmm.
or the committee. Now, a lot of the chefs would want to do various things, and they would be able to create small bubbles, but the bigger picture is always with the purchase guy, because he or she has the authority finally to sign the check, has
Hmm.
direct access to the management or the board to make any changes, or bring in any bylaws that can allow things like this to come in by whenever they
Hmm.
like. Because Otherwise, you're closed by contracts, you're closed by prices, you're closed by a certain size of the tomato and the potato and things. You get my picture, right? So this purchase managers forum is a beautiful one. You probably know Nitin already. If not, let's talk to Nitin and see which is the way, whatever the forum and all. If you guys, you should go and do a presentation. I think this year the forum is happening in Kashmir, if I'm not wrong. Last year it was in Lucknow, I think. And this is a fantastic forum to talk about new produce or a proudly Indian indigenous produce. And then if it comes through the chefs, the purchase manager would have at least have that ease of accepting it.
Yes.
Rather than rubbishing it, saying, "Yaar, pagal hai, kya bol raha hai? Abhi kaun, main Meghalaya thodi jagah tere liye mushroom lene," which happens often. And it happens to me every day because I, as a consultant, I work with so many purchase guys. They're like, "nahi, nahi, hum to nahi kar payenge." Acha, the most common cliche is if you're in Delhi, you will go to INA market, which is definitely none of this is available. And if you're in Bombay, he goes to Crawford Market. Now, and then you say, nahi, mil nahi raha. So this is a forum which has all the power, has all the money, and call the shots. I think if we work together with the chefs and the purchase forum, is where we will be able to break into the Horeca. And yes, if you want to create a group where there is knowledge sharing, I don't think this group will still have the authority to buy 70 kilos of X item through that group. But yes, knowledge sharing forum ke liye to bahut acha hai because at least people will be able to talk about things. Guys like Dhruv and other chefs who are working with them, they can talk about indigenous produce. There'll be some young chefs who will get excited and may get keen to at least explore. So it's definitely a good idea. A knowledge forum, kind of a WhatsApp group at this, it keeps sharing things. Like I know Krishikesh has done one. Achintya, he was part of our slow food movement. Unfortunately, we just lost Dr. Carlo Petroni. Very sad, event in all our lives. But yeah, I am still writing an obituary for him, very close to him at some point. So Achintya started this thing of Krishikesh ka WhatsApp group. So keep sending info. So like that, if you have a group like that where everybody gets to send out information in terms of what is the produce, what is in season, what will come in 2 months' time, how does it look like, how does it grow, it will only bring in more excitement and interest. It's it won't for sure it won't harm anybody. It will not spoil anybody's time or take away anybody's effort and intelligence. But it'll only be good. Information is always good.
Sure. So my last question is on consumer adoption and scale. And again, I think over the last conversations over the last 2 months, talking specifically about cost. The chef said if I put something on the menu and I have to explain it to every consumer who walks in, that is a lot for me to do. So I can't put something for which there is no demand. And if the customer doesn't know, then it's a demand on us staff to kind of go and explain, and they might not do it right all the time. And which is a valid fear. So few of the companies that we spoke with, they said, if you remember back in 90s, the government used to have a milk campaign and an under eggs campaign, etc. So one is, how much can a startup and a chef do? And should there be a ecosystem level support, be it the government or industry bodies? We can identify those bodies. Should there be a larger campaign around this? Because then the cost of putting it on the menu or cost of supply chain is reduced for everyone. So would that help the Horeca sector if, let's say, a commodity body or the government steps in to kind of promote these ingredients?
100%. Goes without saying, of course it will. So I see a good example of egg and milk, but those are more necessity products.
Yeah.
But for that matter, government is now, I think recently the honorary prime minister spoke about reducing oil, and everybody's taking it up seriously. So even in smaller bots like that, if the right information goes out through the right from the right forum or from the right platform, it for surely will have a great impact. I have been part of the avocado campaign in India. You can see how avocado sales have gone through the roof. Last 3-4 years, I've been part of the avocado campaign. Now even Vasan kuch sabji thelas have avocado. and there is a sale at the end of on Monday. If it doesn't sell by Sunday, now Vasant going to tell us I have avocado 100 rupees, 3 avocados on Monday. So I wait for Monday, every Monday to buy them because that 600 rupee kilo comes at 100 rupees or 100 rupees half a kilo kind of a situation. So I think if it comes with the right message, like, I just got reminded. So if you see there's a bread key behind me on this picture, you can't see it, of course, very small.
I can
So
see it.
he's the avocado ambassador. Now, when you bring in a persona like that and he holds an avocado in one hand and a ball in another and says, eat avocado, people eat. So, similar food campaigns or campaigns related to oil or campaigns related to masalas and spices happens in Indian TV. You have Ranveer Brar doing spice. Amitabh Bachchan ji is doing, some rice and food ads. So obviously coming from that kind of a platform, anything, and if it is supporting indigenous, obviously it will. So, but how do you build that kind of ecosystem that will support? It has to be government, semi-government. There has to be deep pockets and funds to do this kind of work. But blanket answer is yes, 100%. It would definitely help the cause. If you speak, somebody tomorrow gets up and says, "Let's talk about Lacatone turmeric." And already Lacatone turmeric is expensive, not like it's not cheap or it's available very easily. But maybe it'll increase and it'll become as expensive as matcha. Today everybody is buying matcha because somewhere somebody stood up and said it's great for health. So like that, all our tea, the entire consume so much tea from Northeast and Assam and Darjeeling. I'm addicted to varieties of green tea. So there's so much produce that we have at smaller forums. If people of this caliber starts putting up their hand and say, hey, this is what I like and I would like all of you to try, of course, for sure.
Chef, I have taken way more time than I bargained for. But it informs the study so incredibly brightly. And coming from you, I think the industry will respect what you have said. So the value of my report goes up.
Thank you, Ji.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you, Manisha. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Good day.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chef. Bye, Chef. Bye, Omji. Thank you so much, Omji.
Thank you. Bye-bye.